Test, test. All right, everybody. Our second finalist here, Team L. So please, if you would, they'll get 20 minutes to present, and then judges, it's question and answer time. So good luck, you guys. Go for it.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming today. Now, as we get started, I would like you to close your eyes. Imagine global expansion. NBA jerseys in every European major city. We're talking rivals that span across borders and a fan base that explodes. Now, friends, let us take you through the NBA European expansion plan. My name is Emily Bible.
My name is Johnny Reed.
My name is Grace Flogger.
And my name is Jake McDevitt.
All right, our game plan for today is to go over the overarching SWOT for the NBA. We'll talk about locations, market, and then finish up with some finance. So, starting with the SWOT, we'll hit on the main points here. We have global brand recognition. The NBA already has that. We also have an established European talent pipeline. Weaknesses is the economic uncertainty and attracting recognizable players. For opportunities, there's potential for new partnerships and sponsorships, as well as expanding and growing the pool of European basketball talent. And lastly, the threats is the cultural resistance and the existing basketball leagues, such as the EuroLeague. I'm going to bounce it over to Jake.
Thank you, Emily. So when we kind of looked at how we wanted to kind of expand, pick some of the locations and kind of exactly where we wanted to kind of get our roots set in Europe, we had to kind of look at a cage factor to start. So for the cage factor, we looked at the cultural distance, administrative distance, geographic distance, and economic distance. So for cultural distance, we really wanted to focus on cultures that have an engraved basketball culture that's already established within that region. But we also want to kind of understand that, yes, there is pressure from other leagues, such as the EuroLeague in Germany. There's the Bundesliga for basketball. But we also understand that football rules Europe. It's sport 1, sport 2, sport 3, sport 4, and we understand that, but that's what we are trying to change. For the administrative distance, obviously infrastructure. We want to make sure that there is indoor arenas that are already established in these cities. Like I said, football, very popular. However, that's outdoor arenas. Basketball is played inside. So we kind of have to kind of balance that. And then private and public funding if these arenas are not already established and built. Do we have backing from the local government? Do we have backing from local taxpayers? Do we have backing from the public? For geographic distance, European regions in the area of Europe that are very popular with basketball, so such as the Balkans, the Baltic, Germany, stuff like that. And we also want to really touch on Western Europe versus Eastern Europe, okay? Understand that there is cultural and economic differences, and then expansion. Lastly, economic distance. Really want to focus on GDP per capita within that city or country. You know, want to really understand that there is purchasing power for these games and these leagues with merchandise and whatnot. And then obviously business hubs that can lead into corporate sponsorship opportunities. So kind of get into that, let's start with Frankfurt, Germany. Frankfurt, Germany, strong growth of German basketball has been seen. There's players in the NBA. The team has done really well on the international stage. And Frankfurt is not as saturated as, let's say, Munich and Berlin with popular basketball teams and popular soccer clubs. Great venues in Frankfurt, but also public and political support to build new arenas. It's also a massive commercial hub. Has one of the biggest airports in Europe. There's industries like tech, auto, tire, bank. There's over 300 different domestic and international banks that are located and shown within Frankfurt. Little wild card here, Helsinki, Finland. Growing basketball scene in Finland, believe it or not. Ice hockey is the main threat, so it's a little bit of a niche sport, so we don't have to worry about football kind of being the main focus there. With that, there's a lot of great basketball or arenas for basketball that have a main focus on ice hockey to begin with. And then the largest age group in Finland is actually 20-39. Another amazing stat is that 24% of the total population of Finland actually lives in Helsinki. And if it does well, if basketball does well, and the NBA does well in Helsinki, it gives us room to expand in the Nordics. You can expand to Sweden, you can expand to Norway, Denmark, Iceland, countries like that. Next, we have Vilnius, Lithuania, with a population of 542,000. So this is a little bit of a cultural shift here. We're not necessarily focusing on commercial hubs and population and Gen Z, but we're focusing on it being basketball is a secondary religion within this country and this city. Notable NBA players produced here, widespread basketball viewership, well connected to the rest of Europe and a region that is very popular with basketball, and government and private investment for a country that does have a little bit lower of GDP. Next, PSG's expansion into basketball. You see teams like Barcelona, Bayern Munich. These are sporting groups that have massive followings. PSG is the same, but they only have football. Why not go into basketball? They can venture into basketball easily. Operational demands will not be an issue. They have Qatar Sport Investment as their majority owner. That's not going to be an issue. Paris with a population of 11.2 million. Obviously a massive economic and cultural hub. And then obviously governmental support of events and infrastructure. We saw the Olympics there last year, and it was a massive success. Amsterdam, Netherlands. This is our main focus on Gen Z. Population of 1.1 million, however, 29% of the population is actually Gen Z. They have great sport infrastructure, great public and political support, and 6% of the income shift between 1990 and 2011 went directly from the low income into middle and upper. So we're seeing a middle class rise, but we're also seeing a rise of that upper class. People that have the purchasing power to be able to afford high quality seats, loges, courtside tickets, being able to buy merchandise, being able to expand their knowledge of the game by attending more events. And then lastly, Thessaloniki, Greece. Another little bit of a wild card here, but we kind of wanted to focus on Greece because just like Lithuania, massive basketball following, but we wanted to stay away from Athens. Okay, Athens, yes, great sports city, big, high population, a lot of commercial room for sponsorship and whatnot. However, it's extremely saturated. There's massive football teams there. There's very big EuroLeague basketball teams there. A lot of competition, a lot of saturation. So why not go to the second biggest city in Greece that isn't too far off in terms of population as well? Also, presence in the Balkans, right? Kind of the main theme here is expanding within that region of the European region, all right? In the Balkans, basketball is huge. You have Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, players that are in the NBA right now that are from these countries. If it works in Greece, we believe that it can work in these other countries as well in that region. All right, now I'm gonna pass it on to Emily, and she's gonna kind of dive into our 5-year plan and get into marketing a little bit.
Thanks, Jake. So our 5-year plan, year 1, we'll start with a slam dunk, a high-impact launch event. This will be in Paris, and its purpose is to secure fans and gain media coverage. Year 2 will be about deepening fan engagement. This includes community events, cultural ties, and tapping into grassroots initiatives. Year 3, partnerships and investments. We're working towards long-term sustainability here, corporate partnerships, and improving infrastructure. Year 4 is expansion. We're adding new teams with various ownership structures such as international investors and small or large sports investment groups. This is expanding the playoff structure and continuing to add more jerseys to more cities in Europe. And then 5, we made it to full merging and cultural acceptance. So for the league structure, it's going to run from July to September. We'll have 6 teams, 24 regular season games, 1 conference, and then 4 playoff teams. And for player acquisitions, we'll use club academies, we'll poach from other international leagues, we'll tap into the U.S. Players, and then we'll also force local host cities to focus on player development and youth development. I'm going to lay it up to Grace now.
So now we're going to be focusing on revenue generation. So we know this is going to be super impactful for our stakeholders and our investors. So the 3 pillars we decided to focus on were sponsorship, brands, retail, and ticketing. So with our sponsorships and brands, we didn't want it to just be revenue-based. We wanted there to be a community outreach portion. So we partnered with brands that have great awareness already to help enhance the awareness of the league. So focusing on Adidas, obviously the most influential sports brand within Europe, so they have a large following. They also follow a lot of green initiatives, focusing on carbon neutrality and overall impacting sustainability. Then continue with Red Bull, they're really known for exciting activations, really impacting Gen Z and getting out there with audiences, as well as highlighting athletes. We know a lot of these athletes are not going to be familiar faces, so Red Bull could be essential in ensuring that they become relevant. And then Amex is another great one because it's really great with Gen Z as well. A lot of young users are using it, but it also factors into instrumentally helping small businesses, especially women-owned businesses. So really giving back to those communities. And then lastly, Lufthansa Airlines, which basically is hosted in Frankfurt. They have a lot of great opportunities for people to grow their career in aviation, as well as focus on customer service. And then moving into retail, our launch plan is really going to be instrumental in ensuring that our retail strategy is a success, but we also want to offer stadium exclusive opportunities and merchandise, as well as collaborations with Adidas since they are so prevalent. And then pop-up locations. Not everyone might be able to make it out to the first couple games, but we want them to feel included, we want them to have the merchandise, and we want them to represent their city. And then lastly, we're not selling tickets, we're selling experiences. So focusing on season tickets to ensure that we generate that revenue early and kind of have that guarantee, and then grasping onto group nights as well to grow that community involvement with the youth. And then a little focus on businesses with B2B hospitality and VIP experiences to ensure that we're focusing on helping them reward their clients, employees, and prospects. Now, moving on to the launch event. We decided to have the launch event in Paris because of the great success in the Olympics. So our inaugural match will be between Paris and Frankfurt. We thought this would be a great divisional matchup. And then focusing on the event activation weekend. So starting off with a light and drone show at the Eiffel Tower. This will essentially consist of using the NBA logo as well as the flags from the countries in which the cities reside. This will show the unity and that the NBA is really dedicated to integrating themselves within these communities. Then an NBA player fashion show. This will incorporate American NBA stars as well as the new European League stars. So we have some fresh faces and some familiar faces, while also integrating fashion culture from France into our launch events. And then we'll have our 3-on-3 youth tournament. This will consist of a court set up outside of the Eiffel Tower. So we're creating long-lasting memories for these children, really helping them grow the game and see the impact that they can have as they dream big. And then lastly, on the Saturday, culminating with the team name, jersey, and logo reveals. Hopefully having NBA legends sporting those jerseys, especially if they're from those countries or regions. And then our social media calendar. So 4 to 6 months out, have some sort of teaser around the Eiffel Tower where there's an NBA star dribbling in front, posting that on the NBA Europe current accounts, then announcing those locations to get fans excited. Having them guess the logos, what's the jersey gonna look like, what are the colors gonna be? And then our fashion show, kind of celebrating the culture of Paris as well as highlighting fashion designers and the NBA stars that are gonna be sporting their designs. And then 1 to 2 weeks out with the community impact. Who are these youth teams that are gonna be participating and how is this gonna impact them in the future and help to grow the game long term? And then lastly, week of. Getting those players and influencers that are going to be attending these events in the faces of everyone, showing that this is the inaugural season and that this is going to go off with a bang. And then lastly, overall promotion. So on the league side, we're focused on 3 main pillars, those pillars being visibility, awareness, and engaging with Gen Z. So first, we chose our streaming platform. We know this is the best way to reach those younger audiences currently. Now, Courtside 1891 is currently the platform that FIBA uses. So we know basketball audiences are already using this platform. So we want to kind of collaborate with FIBA, show them that we're excited to work with them, as well as meet basketball fans where they are. So this would be our exclusive streaming platform. And then, of course, our strategic partnerships that we mentioned before, we're going to use these partnerships to help build our awareness because they're already such established brands within the market. And then, of course, our digital campaigns with our launch strategy, as well as really using storytelling to show who these new athletes are, what this opportunity means to them, and how the league is going to continue to grow in the future. And then, of course, that short-form content for Gen Z to keep them entertained and keep them coming back. And then lastly, on the club side, really showing the dedication to integrating within the community and growing fans from a young age. I know Jake mentioned in the Cage analysis that there is competition from other sports as well as other leagues, so getting to fans early and helping them grow their own skills is going to be essential. To do this, we would start club academies in each city. So there would be dedicated athletes to help train them as well as just really integrate them with the game. Of course, this is going to grab their attention and ensure their loyalty to the league. And then lastly, tying back in with community events, establishing events around celebrations within those cities. So now I'm going to pass it off to Johnny, who's going to talk about talent development.
Thank you, Grace. So we have all these aspects of this new league. Well, how do we get fans to actually tune in and be excited? We believe it's driven through star power and through competitive balance in this league. So first, we can use homegrown NBA stars to help drive this. All of these locations that we've laid out have stars both past and present, from Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker, Victor Wembanyama, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And they can help drive this through social media promotions, attending live events, and different fan interactions. Now, Finland and the Netherlands may be lacking a bit in this star power that the NBA has, but this just presents a new opportunity to help grow this homegrown talent and really build that pipeline and address it from the youth age up. So how do we do that? It's through player development, and that can come with the FIBA collaboration, which the case taught us that it increases expansion success rates and global fan engagement, and we can do this through partnering with FIBA's Europe Youth Development Fund and the La Alquería del Basket in Spain, which both of these are simply initiatives that help push youth basketball and help introduce it to them at a young age. Touching on our budget a little bit, we bucket them into 4 segments: marketing, player development, league operations, and media broadcasting. We'll touch on just the first 2, which are our biggest allocations, starting with marketing. And we believe that it's so important to put such a large allocation towards it because that's really what's going to drive both our short-term and long-term ROI. In the short term, with our ticket sales, with merchandise sales and partnerships, and then focusing on the long term, really ingraining the basketball culture into Europe, or again, just starting them from a young age and building up the star power and the youth development that helps make it competitive over a long time. And that plays right into the player development as well, which is another large allocation. Again, just really driving home that long-term revenue generation. And finally, looking at a few important KPIs for us, we believe getting eyes on the game, that's what's important. So fan engagement through social media, average attendance per game, and streaming viewerships. So looking at this first chart here on the right, what this really shows is from 5 of the locations we showed, just the average engagement per post on NBA posts on social media, and it just shows the global footprint that the NBA currently already has in Europe, such as in Germany and Lithuania, but then there's also growth opportunities in the Netherlands and in Greece, and we believe specifically Greece with a star name like Giannis Antetokounmpo, really leveraging that to grow their engagement. We can also use this as a comparison with the EuroLeague to see their growth potential that they've already been experiencing, to show that it is a growing basketball community already, and it's a strong area for this league to come into. So it matches up with all of our KPIs, specifically with social media engagements and impressions. Year over year, they've really been very strong with the EuroLeague. And finally, when we're looking at partnership growth, what assets does the league offer that can help drive revenue for these partners? And we believe a lot of it comes through impressions and through eyeballs on the game. So again, looking at this EuroLeague comparison that we did, looking at the average impressions per post for partners that are similar with the EuroLeague that correlate to what we've proposed, they've seen year-over-year increases in average impressions per post. Again, just really hammering home that point that Europe is already a strong and growing basketball community, and it's a great place to really continue to ingrain that culture. And next, I'm going to lob it up to Jake for our buzzer-beating conclusion.
So yes, in conclusion, kind of what is the mission of this entire project? What is the mission of actually expanding into Europe? We believe that the mission is to ingrain NBA and basketball into European culture. We understand that it's a strong football culture, but why not make it a strong football and basketball culture? Why not, reach for basketball overcoming football in this continent? So why do we do that? Well, youth touch points, a European culture shift going towards basketball, proper locations with room for expansion. The locations that we start this league at is very key, all right? If we can do well there, we can expand within that region and then have a team in every single country across the continent. Lastly, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that with our 5-year marketing plan that we touched on, as well as focus on revenue generation and grassroots initiatives. These grassroots initiatives start young, all right? Fan when they're a kid, fan when they're a teenager, fan when they're a young adult, fan when they're a full-time adult. Yes. And thank you so much for all your attention today.
Okay, judges, if you wouldn't mind, I'm just going to give you the microphone. If you have a question, just let me know. Oh, here, would you have that to Tom?
Okay, good afternoon. You start in July, you go through September. If it starts today, what would that be, July of 2026? Okay, got it. All right, so, we have $30 million that we're going to work with. How much are we budgeting that we plan to make? What will be a return on that $30 million when it comes to revenue generation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, really focusing on the partner aspect of that in terms of looking, starting in 2026, we see with these corporate partners playing the long game of the 5-year plan, right? We're, operating, there won't be much revenue generation operating at a profit early on, but looking at the larger picture 5-year plan and utilizing those partners that we have to kind of realize that return on investment over time as the expansion comes into play, as these partnerships come into play, as it becomes more established in years 3, 4, 5 of that is where we really see that return on investment kind of coming in.
Is this going to be owned by the league, or is this going to be the teams? Are they owned by individuals? What's the ownership structure?
Yeah, so it'll be a mix. It can be owned by ownership groups that already have existing teams. So, for example, the PSG Club or foreign investors.
Yeah, because I saw that you had a budget for $1 million for administrative tasks and salaries of everybody. And that would be just allocated to all the teams, $1 million per year? Or?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay.
You guys have in your 5-year plan, in year 2, that you are going to strengthen your fan base. Can you go into more detail on how you would go about doing that?
Yeah, I think a little bit, as we touched on, I could expand on the cultural events, really kind of diving into the specific holidays that resonate with those regions. So ensuring that there is cultural sensitivity as well as embracing that so that it doesn't feel like the NBA is just pushing into this market and almost trying to Americanize it, that it's really showing that they want to be a part of the culture and that this truly is a European league and that the community is going to be a part of building that. So involving Fan Fest, like I said, revolving around those holidays, Midsummer, Bastille, all of those kind of events that align with the territories that we have selected can really help to integrate us into the community and show that we truly want to be there.
Thank you guys for your presentation. I just wanted to ask, when you highlighted the different countries that you were planning to expand into, you highlighted the GDP per capita, and I was just wondering, what is your argument for European individuals as to why they should spend their disposable income on this event as opposed to a EuroLeague event or European soccer clubs?
So In my opinion, I don't think you necessarily go into it initially challenging any European soccer club. I think that's way too engraved right now. But you can look at it in terms of the EuroLeague, right? Like, obviously, long term, yes, we can start to attack European football clubs. But you go look at Germany, for example. Like, those are clubs that have been around since the 1800s. Like, generational fans, like great grandparents were fans of those teams. So yes, it is something that we do want to challenge. But looking at it in the terms of the EuroLeague side, right? It's the NBA, right? Like, it's got all the star players, right? Like, marketing it in that way and showing that, like, yes, you have this purchasing power. Like, we understand you can go to, like, any of these events that you want to, but it being that NBA, tying the NBA name to it, having those star players, right? But also keeping those homegrown talent to where you do see people on the court that, like, you can say, hey, like, that could have been me. Like, kind of having that combination. But we think the NBA, because of how established it is in the world of sports, American sports are so prominent, especially with Gen Z over there in terms of, like, the awareness. Like, research shows that, like, yes, like, over there, like, Gen Z, the people who are going to be buying the tickets next, the ones who are going to have the money, like, they're extremely aware of the NBA. And the NBA is way more global right now than it was even 10 years ago. Like, there's players from all different countries across Europe. So to us, I just think the NBA, like, it just is a more established brand globally. And tapping into that European market that already likes basketball within EuroLeague, like, I just think that it just is a stronger brand that can sell itself a little bit better.
Can I just add to that a little bit? So we also think that the NBA has a unique opportunity to fuse the culture of the existing area with the NBA's brand and kind of attack the Gen Z audience, such as, like, the WWE is doing right now. And the NBA already has a very well established, like, experience when you go. So continuing to capitalize on the experience, like, twisted with the culture that they're going to be immersed in, is going to make fans want to spend their money.
Any last questions, judges? Shall we let them go? All right, guys, great job. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. So we are now officially 2/3 of the way done. And the judges have already got some tough decisions to make here. They get a couple of minutes to make their notes as we welcome in our third finalists, which I think is Team H. That was Team L, for those of you keeping scorecards out there. So Team H is the last one that we're going to have here.